Everyone knows that Sung Jin was real. Name is actually Sung Jin him. I know it. You know it. But the people of solo leveling didn't know of his true powers for over 100 chapters. Imagine. You think you are the pinnacle of hunters. The top of the top? And this dude, a guy who just a few months ago was known as the weakest hunter, walks in and trashes your entire career because after the double dungeon incident, wherever Jinwoo ventured, people were shook because of his strength. Even the nurses at the hospital wanted a piece of his big black shadow monarch powers. The first relevant person to realize Jinwoo had changed was his sister Jinha. She asked him if he was working out. And boy, did she have no idea. Her brother was about to go from a tiny little wimp to the Chad of all Chads. This would be further reinforced when she is saved by Jinwoo when a group of monsters attacks her school, where it's completely obvious to her that he is one of the strongest hunters out there. But the hunter to truly experience the might of a new Jinwoo was C-ranker Wang Dong-suk. He had the brilliant idea to murder Jinwoo for some extra cash. Let's see how that turned out. Wang's reaction to witnessing Jinwoo's power was priceless. He had thought it was Jinho that defeated the spider boss with his op equipment, but everything shattered when Jinwoo effortlessly killed every single one of his men with ease and then proceeded to behead him. This was still when Jinwoo was recognized as an E rank. So imagine a C rank surprised to see someone significantly below him in rank overpowering him like this. This action would cause Jinwoo to be noticed by an S rank hunter, Hwang Dong-soo, who, after hearing that his brother was killed, vowed to hunt down and murder Jinwoo. Let's see how that worked out for you, buddy. Because from what I'm seeing is you thought you could beat Timothy himself. Yeah, Wang Dong-soo isn't the sharpest when it comes to grasping powers, but honestly, he's also an idiot in general. Bro came all the way to Korea only to think that Jinwoo had died in a red gate. Bruh, this is Sung Jinwoo. You should know he is better than that. But before he could even bask in our goat's presence, he heads back to America. It wouldn't be until the International Hunters Conference when Jungsa had the genius idea of kidnapping Jinwoo's best friend Jinho in order to provoke him, and he got wrecked, bamboozled, annihilated, absolutely screwed with. Jinwoo wasn't playing around. Before he could die, though, Dong-soo was saved by S-rank hunter Thomas Andre, who would get destroyed by Jinwoo later too. But we'll get to him later. Jinwoo killed Dong-soo with no hesitation and turned him into the Shadow Green. But the events of the Spider Dungeon also showed Jinwoo's best friend, Jinho, his true powers. Originally, Jinho only became friends with our goat because of his strength. He needed to complete 20 gates but was D rank and couldn't do anything. While originally using Jinwoo for selfish reasons, the two would grow close and forge an unforgettable bond. And even after being granted the headmaster position he wanted, Jinho said nope and joined Jinwoo's guild as vice headmaster. Jinho's reaction to his buddy's power was so strong that he became his biggest dick rider. Honestly, at this point, I might be in contention with that. I've been glazing this dude for 7 videos straight. It is what it is. It is what it is. But anyways, Jinwoo killing Dunsuk would also be the first time the assistant to the chairman and eventual chairman of the Hunters Association, Woo Jin-chul, would start to become suspicious of his strength. He was one of the first people to visit Jinwoo after his experience within the Double Dungeon, believing he had gone through a second awakening. As we know, the system hadn't been used yet, so Jinwoo was still at the level of an E rank. And so Jingso left pretty disappointed. It wasn't until after Jinwoo had killed Dong-suk did he start to realize something was off, as there was no way an E ranker could have killed a C rank. However, as time went, he realized that Jinwoo was way more powerful than even the average S ranker. And the two would become close acquaintances. But what if I told you the next hunters to react to Jinwoo's true power were people he actually worked alongside as an E ranker? During the dungeon prison arc, Jinwoo would reunite with the C ranker, Sung Chi-yu, and the B rank healer, Lee Ju-hee. Imagine their surprise when they saw how goated this man had become in just a month. Ju-hee really should have made her move here. She was the only one to really have confidence in Jinwoo when he was still E rank. They were even gonna go out to dinner after the raid before things turned south. She could have easily won Jinwoo over and had his fake black shadow. But nope. She let that opportunity slide. Retired as a hunter. And now I bet she's crying in the corner eating a tub of ice cream. thinking about how lonely she is. But don't worry because, no, I can fill that place. I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man. While Mr. Song isn't a super strong hunter, he is in fact a master of Kamado, a martial Korean sword art. He's also the master to Chin and Jinwoo's future wife. But we'll get to her a bit later. Both are extremely relieved to see that Jinwoo was all right. And Mr. Song would even apologize for leaving him in the dungeon. But this man doesn't care anymore. If anything, they did him a favor. Jinwoo would then demonstrate his true strength against a hitman of the Korean Hunters Association, Kong Taeish, who was flabbergasted when this random is going head-to-head with his assassination skills. Jinwoo even bypasses his camouflage, completely obliterating him. This battle left both he and Mr. Song stunned as well, where they both promised to keep Jinwoo's secret. The next person to find out Jinwoo's true power was Ung Min. Yeah, I'm not even gonna act like anyone even remembers this guy. This was after Jinwoo had been going on a spree of defeating C-rank dungeons with Jinho, and Sang-in is actually a recruiter for the White Tigers Guild, one of the strongest hunter guilds in Korea. He would attempt to recruit Jinwoo and was the first person to realize all on his own without seeing Jinwoo's skills that our Shadow Monarch was a lot stronger than his E-rank title. Jinwoo was so strong at this point that Sang-in only had to take one look at him and he knew he wanted him pause in his guild. It was at this point that the S-rank hunter Byakyun, who would also be informed about Jinwoo, word about his strength would spread across Korea, escalating his status, bringing intrigue to multiple S-rank hunters along with the major guilds associated with them. It would be at this point where Jinwoo would also serve as a somewhat mentor figure to his sister's friend Han Sung-yi. Just like Jinwoo, Han was an E-rank hunter and was being paid a lot of money to stand outside gates by Jinho. She would witness Jinwoo's strength during these raids, where bro was literally soloing C-rank dungeons. Like it was nothing but Jinwoo. He really didn't like the idea of her skipping school and being exposed to the dangerous world of gates, especially with her E-rank status. In order to persuade her to go back to school, he was able to set them up as a party for a training exercise being held by the White Tiger Skill. This gate would actually end up being a red gate, which transports the hunters into another dimension where time flows differently and they can't escape until the threat is neutralized. In this raid, there is a rank accompanying them named Kim Chol, but as soon as he finds out it's a red gate, bro abandons the whole party, only takes the B rankers with him, leaving the rest to fend for themselves. However, one of the B rankers, Park Hee-jin, senses the riz emanating from our goat. She, through sheer instinct, stays behind with Jinwoo and the weaker hunters, which was the greatest decision of her life. Because here, Jinwoo demonstrates his sheer power as he murders the entire Ice Bear population, protecting everyone. Furthermore, the gang would re-encounter Kim Chol, who had gone insane after losing the lives of several fellow hunters. So without hesitation, Jinwoo acts as this man like it was nothing. Let me remind you, at this point, Jinwoo is still a suspiciously strong hunter, not a well-known S-rank, a nobody. Taking down a high level of rank would be pretty surprising to anyone, which leads us to Jinwoo meeting the leader of the White Tiger Guild S-ranker, Baek. Now, this guy has a power called the Eyes of the Beast, which allows him to gauge the strength of another animal or hunter with just one look, which instantly tells him through Jinwoo's presence alone that he was on an equal level to him, or maybe even stronger than him. They literally have a hockey measuring contest, and Baek is one of the only people to realize of Jinwoo's level-up ability, as every time they meet, Jinwoo has gotten stronger. However, after leaking his powers to the party from White Tiger's Guild and Baek, Jinwoo decides to get his S-rank license after being re-evaluated publicly. But as he's waiting a few days for this to happen. However, after leaking his powers to the party from White Tiger's Guild and Baek Kagan, who decides to get his S-rank license after being re-evaluated publicly. But as he's waiting a few days for this to happen, he joins a mining team for the Hunters Guild to experience a rank dungeon firsthand. It's here where he meets Cha-hin, and oh boy does he make an impression on her. Cha is the biggest simp in the series. She is constantly trying to get his big black shadow, and so you're probably wondering why. Why did such a beauty like her a complete badass turn into the biggest Simmons ever? What is this Twitch chat? Because it was love at first. Smell, brother? Yeah, if only it were that easy. Turns out talking about One Piece for 40 minutes or a date makes him ghost. You see, China has an extremely sensitive nose that can track the smell of mana. This makes all hunters and monsters have a very foul smell for her. But Jinwoo would not. This guy's got the Shadow Monarch cologne on enough to make anybody fall for him. This is especially highlighted when he saves the squad of her rankers from the Orc King, which Shaheen also witnesses. Furthermore, he saves her life during the Jeju Island dungeon raid, causing her to fall in love with him. It would also be during this time when Jinwoo finally met the chairman of Korea's Hunter Association, Go-gun, he who would attempt to personally recruit Jinwoo to his organization. But Jinwoo said no, as it would restrict him from going into higher-level dungeons. But despite this, the two formed a very close and professional connection. And then we get to the moment where Jinwoo finally showcases himself. Strongest Hunter, the Jeju Island raid. This is where all the S ranks from Korea and Japan came together to form a raid party to stop a massive ongoing monster threat. But before they went to take on the monsters, they had a sparring session where Japan's strongest hunter Goto Ruji would spar Jinwoo, and after fighting him for a short while, Bro realizing, no, because he can't even land a hit, so he says no, this isn't even my final form, so he goes full power. Even then Bro gets crowned on. Luckily for Goto though, that match ended before things could get ugly, but if it went on any longer they may have been down a S-right hunter for the rape. Now imagine being anyone else in the room, and you see this guy destroying. What are the tallest S-flag hunters? A candidate for nation level? They all pissed their pants for Jimbo's strength. This made Jinwoo's presence known to the entire world, which would even be reinforced by his performance at the raid itself, as he would defeat the Ant King when all the other S-mine hunters from Japan and Korea got polarized. Who would have guessed that? This would also be the moment the Ant King, whose entire purpose was to be the strongest, learned that someone out there was better than him, and so he became very one of Jinwoo's best shadows. After this incident, Jinwoo would be recognized as a hero worldwide, with people from all over Earth desperate to learn more about him and recruit him. America was especially interested in him, and so during Byangu's funeral, they sent Norma Selena, a representative of the American government, to meet with him. She possessed the ability to amplify a hunter's power, which they wanted to use to bribe Jinwoo into becoming a hunter for the U.S. However, upon failing the process, Norma became terrified at what she was witnessing, as a dark, powerful presence was inside Jinwoo's body, petrifying her. This guy was so strong already that he couldn't even get a boost, and she was just so beneath him that it wouldn't even make a difference. Japan would then become indebted to Jinwoo yet again, as he would pretty much by himself solve the entire Japan crisis when the giant monarch appeared, which was on an even bigger scale than Jeju Island, a threat that could destroy the whole country. And it was at this arc where Song Il-1 comes into play, one of the strongest hunters and Jinwoo's father. He was sent by the rulers to assassinate the new Shadow Monarch, and upon learning that his son was his target, he was absolutely horrified. But after watching Jinwoo dominate on the battlefield, fighting on the side of the rulers, unknowingly the rulers recognized him as their ally. And so on. Okay, I saw some comments in the last video, but you should pronounce his name like Juan, like Jua, like bro. It's Juan. How are you supposed to pronounce it? It's Juan. Anyway, So-won is tasked. Oh my god, I can't. So-won is tasked as his protector rather than his assassin. One oh my god every time I say it. Song Il-won was extremely proud of the man his son had become, and was very happy they were able to fight on the same side of a war that should have never involved them to be. Father and son would finally reunite during the Monarch War, where Kwang would defend Jinwoo from the Frost Monarch and die protecting his son. After the Japan crisis, the whole world knew about Song Jinwoo and wanted to see what he was really made of. That including one of the nation-level hunters such as Thomas Andre and Luigi Sky. The latter became interesting, after witnessing him taking down the giants during the Japan incident easier than he did. As a result, he asked the Korean Hunters Association to give him all the public information they had on Jinwoo. Thomas Andre, on the other hand, would have an uncanny confidence within Jinwoo, as he would bet his company's whole skyscraper that Jinwoo would not only survive the Japan crisis, but resolving. However, he wouldn't want to fight Jinwoo directly and was more worried about Guangdongsu doing something stupid against them, which is exactly what happened. What do you expect? This dude is dumb as hell, and this led to the two powerful hunters facing off, and that's not act like this was an even fight. Okay, Thomas would angrily attack Jinwoo, barraging him with powerful attacks, but things changed when the Shadow Monarch forced Thomas to bleed. This was a total shock because not many people could fight the strongest ranker in the world, and so Thomas went all out, using reinforcement and even spiritual body manifestation to affirm his victory. But it wasn't good enough, as Jinwoo beat him to the brink of death with just his bare hands, not even using his shadows. After the incident, Jinwoo and Thomas would have a conversation where Jinwoo told Thomas that him and his guild members didn't deserve to die like Dong-su, and so they came to find a mutual respect and understanding for each other. But think about this. Even one of the national-level hunters, one of the 7 rulers' vessels, was scared of Sung Jin. Him, however, even after all the hunters, Yujimbo was the shit. There was still a group of monsters that were oblivious to his true strength. This, of course, were the monarchs. Now these guys thought they could just invade Earth like they owned the place, but our guy wasn't gonna let them do it. They need to know their place. For example, take the Beast Monarch, a Rockin' who, along with the Frost Monarch, was able to fatally stab Jinwoo through the chest with his claw, seemingly killing him. However, the Black Heart would activate at this moment and fully awaken as the Shadow Monarch. After chasing Rockin' down, Jinwoo would mock him, telling Rockin' he would only bow his head to him if he could survive. 5 attacks from Jinwoo. First, Makon would transform into his full wolf form, claiming Jinwoo wouldn't leave there unscathed. But this was an empty threat as Jinwoo didn't even need 5. He killed this dude in 4 hits. Then he made a mockery of the Frost Monarch just moments later. But compared to the strongest monarch, the Dragon Monarch interest these guys were pebbles. He would assault the human world with the dragon army after learning Jinwoo had killed 3 of the monarchs and decided to deal with the new Shadow Monarch himself. During his initial assault, he would burn up a Canadian's ranker named J. Mills and cut a whole path of destruction, massacring millions. Jinwoo would finally arrive and was immediately cornered by Terry's army of 10 million, but using Dragon's Fear, he was able to immobilize every single one of them in one moment. But this dude is him. Every solo Love Link video is me talking about how Jinwoo is him. Anyways, in this fight, Antares grew more and more annoyed with Jinwoo's refusal to acknowledge defeat due to the fact that Jinwoo's attacks had no effect on him.